Welcome back to Sailing El Jaleo. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope everyone had a fantastic Christmas and a glorious New Year. The New Year's always a fun time. It's a time of hopeful optimism. I hope everyone has a great 2025. When we last week we were in Prince Creek, which is just south of Myrtle Beach. It's an offshoot of the Waccamaw River, and that's where we did a field repair on Frank, our dinghy. So this week we get back on the road and we make our way south through the rest of the Waccamaw, and we go back down to the coast where we go through tidal estuaries all the way over to Charleston. We make it across Charleston Harbor, and we go through the canal here, the Elliott Cut, where there's some very strong currents. And then we get into the Stono River, where we anchor for the night in Church Creek. I think that's about as far as we'll make it this week, so we might as well go ahead and get right into it. Grab a drink, climb aboard, and let's get going. Here we are enjoying a little bit of rain in Prince Creek, and I love nothing more than the sound of rain on the deck. Being down below, nice and toasty warm when it's raining is always a pleasant time. And I do have to come clean with you guys. It's still 2024. At least it is when I'm creating this video. So just to give you guys kind of a realish time update, or as close as I can get on YouTube. So this film was actually shot around November 10th, a couple of days on either side of that. Right now it is December 12th when I'm recording this and creating the video, but it won't be released on YouTube until January 3rd. So it will have been almost 2 months ago that this actually is where we were. If you guys do want more real-time updates, we are currently in Florida as of December 12th. We got into Florida around December 3rd, and we're currently in the St. Augustine area. We're just kind of hanging out here for right now. If you do want more real-time updates, you can always go over to Patreon. I try and post a couple of times a week, and I've been uploading a lot of free content on there, so if you want to know where we're at real-time, you can always sign up there. It's free. You don't have to pay. About half of the content I put on there is free to view, so you don't have to buy anything to know where we're at and what's going on. So if you want to follow along a little closer to where we actually are, you can go over there and sign up. There's a link in the description down below. Leaving the Waccamaw River is always bittersweet. I absolutely love the Waccamaw. I know I've talked about it a lot of times. It's so beautiful in that area. The trees come right up to the water. It's deep. It is such a beautiful place, and in the spring when the cypress are in bloom, I see colors there that I don't see anywhere else in the world, and it's such a beautiful place. I hate leaving. And we always stay in Prince Creek, and the bad thing about Prince Creek is there's nowhere for the puppy dogs to go ashore, but one of my patrons, Peter, and his partner Kristen, they stayed in a different creek that wasn't too far away, and I believe it was called Thoroughfare Creek. It was a couple of months ago that they told me, so I apologize if my memory is wrong. But they stayed there when they went through the area, and they said there was a wonderful beach there and some hiking trails or some walking paths and stuff, which sounds wonderful. That'd actually be a great place for the puppy dog, so we'll definitely check that out when we come back through in the spring. We did make our customary stop at the Waka Wachi Marina. It's one of our major refueling and rewatering stops on the way to Florida. There are 3 of them. One is Atlantic Yacht Basin, the second is at the Waka Wachi Marina, and then the third is at the Jekyll Harbor Marina. Those 3 places have the best fuel prices that I've found along the entire East Coast, and the great thing about the Waka Wachi Marina is they can order you anything. And with all of the engine troubles I had with hydrolocking the engine, I needed some oil filters, so they ordered in some oil filters and got those for me, which was wonderful. I also picked up some oil there, which they always have, and I also picked up my customary 10 cases of beer. By the time I get halfway to Florida, I'm usually running quite low, so I always get 10 cases when I go through both directions, and they don't overcharge you like massively. They just tack on a little extra, which I have no problem with. It's very reasonably priced. The gas or the diesel is wonderfully priced. Everything is fairly priced there, so it's a wonderful stop. And You know, this is one of the longest, this is actually the longest sustained stretch of freshwater that we're in the entire time from Delaware City down to Florida. There are only 2 times, surprisingly, that we're in freshwater, and one is in going through Great Bridge, just beyond the Great Bridge Lock. And I believe that's freshwater probably up to Currituck Sound. I would imagine Currituck Sound is probably brackish. But I don't know that for sure. I'm just guessing. But I was doing some research on this area to find out where the dividing line was, and I found this absolutely wonderful map on the South Carolina's DNR website, and it shows the boundary between salt and freshwater for the entire state. It's an absolutely wonderful map, and it shows the dividing line is right at the Little River Swing Bridge, and from there the Intracoastal Waterway goes into the freshwater region of South Carolina, and it stays in the freshwater region all the way through North Myrtle Beach, through Myrtle Beach itself, and then through the Waccamaw River and all the way up to Winyah Bay. So once you get back into Winyah Bay, you're back into the brackish or saltwater, and that follows all the way down to Florida. So this is a wonderful map. I tried to find one for North Carolina. That one would be absolutely fascinating if one existed, but I couldn't find one on their DNR's website. I'm guessing one doesn't exist. That would be a nightmare of a state to make dividing lines, I would imagine. So anyway, leaving the Waccamaw River is always bittersweet, and unfortunately our time here, for this fall at least, is at an end. After leaving the Waccamaw River, we made our way through Winyah Bay, and then we started the long road to Charleston the next morning. And in this area, it's probably currently the shallowest, or there are shallow spots on the Intracoastal Waterway between Winyah Bay and Charleston. And some of these places have been dredged. It looks like just north of Charleston, by the Ben Sawyer Memorial Bridge, I believe that's the name of the swing bridge there on the north side of Charleston Harbor. And it used to be really, really shallow there. I went through it low tide once, and I was stuck with 4 boats there until the tide came through, which is fine. You know, it's no problem. We weren't in danger or anything. And the current navigational aids in that area are vastly different than what's on the navigational charts. So I assume they just did some recent dredging in that area, and they have deepened it just north of the Ben Sawyer Memorial Bridge. And but between the Ben Sawyer Memorial Bridge and Winyah Bay, there are other shallow spots that haven't been dredged yet. And we did actually bump bottom on the way through. We were coming through about halfway between high and low tide in these areas, and it actually, we would have been fine. It wasn't a fault of the Intracoastal Waterway that I bumped the bottom. I actually ran downstairs to grab beef sticks for the puppy dogs and I. And it was pretty windy that day, and El Jaleo tends to round up into the wind. She likes to put her bow into the wind, so when no one's at the helm, I don't have a functioning autopilot. So I ran downstairs. I was down there for maybe 10 or 12 seconds, and the channel through this area was very narrow. I didn't probably pick the best time to go downstairs and grab beef sticks, if I'm brutally honest, but you know, we were all hangry, so we wanted a snack. And we got down, when I got downstairs, I grabbed them, I ran back upstairs. You know, it was a maximum of 12 seconds had gone by, but by that point, you know, we had veered off into the wind and had bumped bottom. So I just had to give her a little power. You know, it's all a mud bottom. It wasn't going to do any damage to EJ, so I just gave her a little power. We could pull back into the channel and continue on our way. It wasn't the end of the world. We got off of the ICW and anchored for one night just north of Charleston Harbor. And we were going to stay there for a couple of days, but the wind projections were looking ugly, and Charleston Harbor can get a little sporty. So we had to choose between either a slight chance of rain or high wind if we had waited a few days. So we decided to go ahead and take a chance on a slight chance of rain. I love it. Every time there's a slight chance, we get absolutely destroyed. And we did get a couple of showers in the morning. But once we got through the Ben Sawyer Memorial Bridge, we got out into Charleston Harbor. Yeah, it was calm. There wasn't a ton of wind, but oh my gosh, did the heavens open up. And it just absolutely dumped rain on us. For probably 10 or 12 minutes, it was just a deluge, if you will. And I only have one smart dog, so I definitely need to do some training with them. When they're not real great at listening to me. If you've seen them run around beaches, you probably kind of figured that out. But Hanwi was the only one that listened. When I could see the storm cloud coming, I could see the rain coming across the harbor. So I'm like, oh crap, I better get the dogs downstairs because, you know, no one wants a boat full of wet dogs. So I got Hanwi downstairs, and Linus and Neptune, they just weren't having it. They were not listening to me. So Hanwi sat downstairs, and I could see her, you know, down there. She just laid down while we were all getting drenched up above, crossing Charleston Harbor. But, you know, she's the only smart one. The other two, you know what? They could have used a rinse anyway, so why not? But yeah, we made it across Charleston Harbor, and it's you know, the timing between the bridges. You've got the Ben Sawyer Memorial Bridge, and then you've got the Wapo Creek Bridge. The Ben Sawyer, I believe, opens, and you'll have to, if you're coming through, definitely, I always call the bridges the night before because their schedules change. I believe they open at the top and bottom of the hour. Maybe it's just the top of the hour. The Wapo Creek Bridge only opens on the bottom of the hour, so there was some timing that had to be done to get through there. But we did make it to the Wapo Creek Bridge just before their scheduled opening, so that was great. And, you know, timing these bridges when you've got multiple bridges to go through in a day is always a little bit stressful, but it worked out good. And then we went through the Elliott Cut. That's the second strongest current that we typically run into on the Intracoastal Waterway. We can actually motor against that current, whereas going under the Atlantic Beach Bridge in Florida, we actually can't motor against that current when it's running full strength. So this is the second strongest current. And we timed it so the current would be going in our direction of travel to get through to the Stono River. So everything worked out good. The currents worked out great. The bridge timing worked out good. It was calm. There wasn't a lot of waves. And you doing okay, Hoob? What's going on, buddy? You okay? Do you want to go down? Okay, you need to go down, bud. All right, I can get you down. Hey, you don't need to steal her treat, buddy. No, you don't need to steal her treat. No. Did you need to tell the people how poorly you're being treated? Did you want to say something? What do you want to tell them? Oh, I know. You're treated so poorly, Okay. That probably blew some ears out there. Okay, you relax while I finish this up, okay? Then we'll get whatever you need. You just give me a second here. Will you just give me a minute? Okay. Everyone calm down for just a minute. But we made it through the Elliott Cut and we got into the Stono River. Yeah, you know, when you've got 3 needy puppy dogs, trying to get anything done is pretty much impossible. After making it through the Elliott Cut, we entered the Stono River, where we went upriver like 10 or 12 miles, and we anchored for the night in Church Creek. And that's all we have time for this week. I would like to give a massive shout out to my Patreon crew. Without your guys' support, I wouldn't make these videos. And my Patreon crew is Joan and Juddy Judnick, Val and Chris Alcorn, Denise and Eli Sackett, Sherry Erickson, Deb Shaw, Matthew Spotton, Peter Allen, and Natalie Linehan. Thank you guys so very much. Your support really means the world to me. I do have one legacy patron member, and her name is Joan Linbo. Unfortunately, she has passed on, but she lives on in our hearts forever. We really miss you, Joan. If you are interested in joining our Patreon crew, there is a link in the description down below, and that'll take you to our Patreon page where you can sign up. And there are hundreds, literally hundreds of extra videos and photos of our travels, and I try and keep everything there up to date and post at least once or twice a week, so it gives you a little peek behind the curtain. If you do like our videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. That'll help us out more than you'll ever know, and that actually doesn't cost you anything, so hit that like button. Alrighty, I hope you all are well, and we'll see you next week.